Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi zidni ilma, Rabbi zidni ilma, Rabbi zidni ilma. How are you guys doing? Good? Alhamdulillah. All right, welcome back to Exploring the Quran. Alhamdulillah, we have been covering Surah Yusuf, which is the 12th chapter of the Quran. Alhamdulillah. Today is the 4th session of Surah Yusuf. Obviously, each session kind of stands alone. So if you didn't come to the previous ones, there's no worries. But what we're doing here is we're breaking up the different ayat of Surah Yusuf and kind of understanding how do we still maintain faith through the lens or the time and the climate of trials and tribulations. Good. So there's a lot of difficulty and hardship that we experience in life. And part of life is experiencing hardship, right? So when people say, like, I just want life to be easy and I want there to be no problems and there's nothing that's going to happen, nothing that's going to make me mad, nothing that's going to annoy me, nothing that's going to irritate me, in reality, that's a very natural human feeling to have, right? It's a natural human feeling to have. However, it is a very unrealistic expectation to try to get out of life. And the reason why it's important to note that is because when you have an expectation of something, when that thing does not happen, you're constantly in a state of not feeling happiness or not feeling contentment because you still feel like there's something that is missing. When really, as believers, we want to be in a state of contentment. And what does contentment look like, or what does it feel like? It feels like regardless or irregardless of whatever is happening, I still feel okay, not because of my own ability, but because I know Allah is going to take care of it. So Surah Yusuf, and a lot of the difficulties and things that Yusuf alayhi salam has faced reminds us of that. It allows for us to be able to connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in ways that maybe we didn't think that we would be able to connect with him in that way. Right? And that is the purpose of the Quran. The Quran being known as al-dhikr, it is a reminder. And it is supposed to help you be able to get through life, right? It's supposed to help you be able to get through difficulties and hardship. And also good times as well. So in the previous place, which I'm going to give a quick little synopsis, Yusuf alayhi salam has a dream. After he has this dream, he tells his father. His father tells him, listen, don't go and tell this dream to anyone because shaitan is real and you don't want your brothers to, like, kind of have some plots that they will have or come up with a plan against you. So after that, the brothers of Yusuf alayhi salam, somehow they have this thought that, you know what, our father loves Yusuf and Binyamin way more than he loves us, and we need to deal with Yusuf. And if we deal with Yusuf, then we'll be able to get our father's love, and from there we'll repent and we'll become righteous. Now the thing about that thought process is that shaitan works in a very clear way, and Allah tells us that shaitan's entire purpose and objective is to take someone off of the straight path and for them to turn away from Allah. And in that objective and wanting to do that, shaitan will go to every length to make sure that he does that to a person. And so for the brothers of Yusuf, what they were saying, they were an echo chamber for each other that made it seem like the solution that they came up with was the right solution. And that solution was we should kill him. And right now we're listening to this and we're thinking that's absolutely absurd. How crazy. Why would they even think that? But a idle mind is a devil's workshop. And so essentially there have been moments in our lives, each of us in this room, where we have been very emotionally charged about something and very irrational about it. And if someone would have called us irrational at that moment, we would have slapped them. That would have been the honest truth. The honest truth is you would have looked at that person and you would have told them that you're actually just a hater and you're not really on my side. And because you're not on my side, I never want to talk to you again. And you would have thrown an entire relationship away over something that you were so emotionally charged over. Now sprinkle in hasad with that. Sprinkle in this level of jealousy, right? That is not even just jealousy, more that is this envy that you have, which is enraged, and it has this fire that lights inside of your heart, where a person truly has this thought that this person has this blessing that I should have gotten, and because they got something that I should have gotten, they shouldn't have it. right? So now that irrationalness or that brain that they're using to think through this situation is not really working. So their brother, one of the older brothers, gives a solution. And he says, okay, let's all relax, calm down. Killing Yusuf does not sound like the best idea. How about we just, discard of him? We throw him into the depths of a well, and we leave him there for someone else to come and deal with him. So this is where we ended off. This is the plan that we ended off at. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then tells us that the brothers go, and this is verse number 12, the projectors aren't working today to, share the slides. So you guys are off the hook for reading. Oh yeah, for the seminary students who are laughing, they read in this class too, okay? Apparently I have the rep of being the hard teacher, and I'm gonna die on the hill that I'm not, just because they have to read. But what are you in school for? Actually, you're in school to read, and reading is fundamental, guys, both in English and Arabic, okay? So relax, right? So we left off on verse number 12. Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says the brothers of Yusuf go to their father, and they say, أَرْسِلْهُ مَعَنَا غَدًا. Send him with us tomorrow. يَرْتَعْ, we'll go and we'll play. We'll race each other. وَيَلْعَبْ, and we'll play. وَإِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ. And most definitely, without a doubt, we'll take care of him. We're going to protect him. And then then he replied, قَالَ إِنِّي, he says that, you know what? Actually, when I think about it, deep inside of me, لَيَحْزُنُنِي أَن تَذْهَبُوا بِهِ. It will make me extremely sad if Yusuf goes with you all. Okay? If you take him and he leaves with you, it's going to make me very sad. وَأَخَافُ أَن يَأْكُلَهُ الذِّئْبُ. And he says, and I have a fear that a wolf will come and eat him. وَأَنْتُمْ عَنْهُ غَافِلُونَ. In a time where you're not paying attention. So it almost feels a little bit like Yaqub alayhi salam set them up. You know what I'm saying? He tells them exactly what his fear is. He tells them exactly what he is, what he kind of is worried about. And, typically with parents, they don't actually give you reasons. Parents will just say, I just have a feeling. They wait till you get dressed, you're about to leave the house. They're like, do you really want to go? I just have a feeling. Especially foreign parents. They wait till you're at the door. And they're like, I don't think you should go. I have a feeling. And you're like, okay, you could have told me this an hour ago, right? Because you've been having this feeling the whole day. You know what I'm saying? So Yaqub alayhi salam here in this situation, it feels as if he's kind of giving them, a lot of explanation. And he's a prophet. So let's not forget that portion, because it's really going to come into play as we continue to discuss the next set of events that occur. So he says to them that it makes me really sad to think of you guys taking him. And I also have a fear that something really bad will happen to him, like a wolf will come and eat him, and you guys will be just not even paying attention. You'll be out, you'll be playing, you'll be doing whatever you want. قَالُوا, they then respond to him and they said, لَإِنْ أَكَلَهُ الذِّئْبُ. If a wolf comes and eat him, وَنَحْنُ عُصْبَةٌ, and we're a big group of people, we're a pact, and a wolf will come and eat him and we're a pact, إِنَّا إِذًا لَخَاسِرُونَ, then we're useless. You have a bunch of sons for a reason. We are a family, we're our siblings, we're strong men, it's a group of us. We're going to move in a group. We're going to move in a group. It's like when you're going out maybe with your cousins or your siblings, and your parents are like, nobody go by yourself. You're like, it's 15 of us. Nobody has to go by themselves. Someone who says, okay, I'm going to the bathroom, it's 10, especially girls. If you're a girl's girl, it's 10 people get up and go to the bathroom with them. We don't move alone. So there's no need for you to even fear that this will happen. فَلَمَّا ذَهَبُوا بِهِ. So when they took him, so now we're assuming, and not necessarily assuming, the Quran gives us markers and indicators towards what happens next. So this fa here means consequentially. So after this conversation happened, then obviously Yaqub alayhi salam must have said, okay, take him. So فَلَمَّا ذَهَبُوا بِهِ, when they left and they took him and he went with them, وَأَجْمَعُوا أَن يَجْعَلُوهُ فِي غَيَابَةِ الْجُبِّ. And they came across the conclusion. They had a resolve. they decided to come to the middle ground, that they were going to throw him into the depths of the well. Now, this is important. It's important to note that there are different types of wells, and I understand, guys. I understand. It's not like a well history class, okay? But there are different types of well. The reason why it keeps showing us that it's not just like some shallow well. You know, it is like a very deep well, meaning that Yusuf alayhi salam could not get out of this. That someone was going to have to come, he was going to have to hold on to the bucket, and then that's how he was going to have to get up from the depths of this well. Which means that at the very bottom of it, it was like almost like he's at the pit of the bottom of it. And what's protecting him is the fact that there's water. So if there was no water, he would have died, okay? So what's protecting him is the fact that there's water. So now they go and they have come up to the conclusion that they're going to throw him into this well. وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَيْهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and in that time we inspired to him, meaning to Yusuf. لَتُنَبِّئَنَّهُمْ بِأَمْرِهِمْ هَذَا وَهُمْ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ. That you will tell them of this time. You're going to remind them of this situation when they do not have any realization. And essentially, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling Yusuf alayhi salam that there's going to come a time when you're going to remind them of this and they're not going to know who you are. But what does that do? To us, it's like, okay, like underdog story. Like God is telling you, you got this, right? But there's a couple of things. The first thing is showing Yusuf alayhi salam that, listen, you're going to be okay. And sometimes people just need to hear it. Sometimes you just need to hear it. Sometimes you're going to be okay gives you more mental space to be able to handle whatever it is you need to handle. Sometimes people come to you and they're like, oh, like you seem stressed. What do you need? What do you need me to take off your plate? And you're just kind of like, actually, that's unhelpful. Like, you know, you asking me what to take off my plate is unhelpful. Like somebody cannot take your child. They really can't. Someone cannot pick up your child from school because then you still have to submit paperwork. They still have to sign them out. It's still a whole trouble and they still have to come home to you. So at some level, it's not that helpful. But when you have people in your corner that you trust, that care for you, that love you, that are there for you, and they just look at you and they say, hey, you got this, and you're going to be okay, and you can handle it, then what does that make you feel? It makes you feel better. Like all of a sudden, it's almost as if they did take something off your plate. And that was a little bit of like an unknown of your own potential. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells Yusuf alayhi salam, he inspires to him, and he lets him know that you're going to be able to talk to your brothers about this thing, and they're not even going to know who you are. When the Prophet ﷺ, before he was migrating to Medina, there was a thing that he needed to do. And what he needed to do, they conspired to try to kill him. But what he needed to do was that he was known still to be the most trustworthy person. So people would, instead of having a bank, so right now you probably go to like Bank of America. This is not sponsored by Bank of America, okay? So you probably go to like Bank of America, maybe Federal something, and you probably put your money there, right? And so when you travel, you know things are secure, whatever. And that time, they put their people were their banks. So they would entrust their belongings to people. So say you have somebody you really trust and you say, you know what, you should keep all of my gold, you can keep all my savings. When I need it, I'll come back and get it from you. So the people of Mecca, and the Quraysh who were trying to plot against the Prophet ﷺ were actually the same people that would entrust their wealth with him. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him the command that he could migrate, it was time for him to go, the Prophet ﷺ called Ali ibn Abi Talib. And he told him, Ali, I need you to do me a favor. And Ali says what? He says, I have all of these things that belongs to these people. But these are the same people who are trying to kill me. So what I need you to do is I need you to return it to them after I'm gone. That's the first thing. The second thing, he said, is that I need you to sleep in the bed at my home. And Ali's like, okay. He's like, yeah, because they're going to come to the house and they're going to try to kill me. So I need you to sleep in that bed. And then he tells him, I'll see you in Medina. That's it. So years later, can you imagine someone tells you, go stay in my house, watch my house, somebody's going to break in, they're going to shoot the house up, but I need you to stay there. you would be like, I'm not the 1, 2, or 3. Actually, like, I'm not a real friend. Actually, I'm fake. I'm fake. Get some new friends. Like, that would be your response. You would literally look at them. You'll probably think they're crazy. You know, Ali is telling this story. Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu is telling the story much later with so much enthusiasm. And he's so happy that he was the one who slept in the bed of the Prophet ﷺ on the night that they tried to kill him, to a point where a companion was like, how'd you sleep? And he said, I slept like a baby. How? Because the Prophet ﷺ said, I'll see you in Medina. That's how. The Prophet ﷺ said, I'll see you in Medina, which means what? You're going to be okay. It's going to work out. It's going to be fine. So this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells Yusuf alayhi salam. He tells him that, listen, there will come a time that you're going to talk to your brothers about this situation, and they're not even going to know who you are. Which tells Yusuf alayhi salam that this is very scary. And in this moment, I don't know how things are going to play out. But guess what? I have to take it in stride. Right? I have to take it on the chin. I have to see and just move through the motions of whatever it is that's going to happen. So after that happens, the brothers were ja'u abahum. They go back to their father. And sha'an, after it's very dark, it's nighttime. Yabkuna, and they're all crying. They're crying their heart out. Qalu, they say to their father, Ya abana, O our father, inna dhahabana, that we went off. Nastabiku wa tarakna Yusuf inna mata'ina. And we were racing each other, and we left Yusuf with all of our belongings. فَأَكَلَهُ الذِّئْبُ. Then the wolf came and ate him. Okay, the wolf came and ate him. وَمَا أَنْتَ بِمُؤْمِنٍ. And you're not even going to believe us, لَنَا. وَلَوْ كُنَّا صَادِقِينَ. Even though we're telling the truth. So you ever been in a situation where you're over-explaining yourself? Clearly, there's something that we need to investigate there. Like, why do you feel the need to keep going? So they said, listen, we went to play. We were racing each other. And the wolf came and ate him. And you're not going to believe us, even though we're telling the truth. So they came, وَجَاءُوا عَلَىٰ قَمِيصِهِ. They brought his shirt, بِدَمْبٍ كَذِبٍ, with the false blood. So some of the narrations say that the shirt was not ripped, okay, because you didn't think through the plan. The shirt was not ripped. Secondly, they slaughtered a wolf and they put the blood of the wolf on it. That was the second thing. The third thing is that they brought Yusuf's shirt, which means that they threw him into the well without a shirt on, which is also very problematic because a kid being in water in the depths of a well without any clothes on means that he's more likely to pass away. But Allah has told Yusuf alayhi salam what? You're going to be okay. So the response that Yaqub alayhi salam gives, قَالَ بَلْ سَوَّلَتْ لَكُمْ أَنفُسُكُمْ أَمْرًا. He says, a wolf ate him, huh? He says, no. What has truly happened is that your soul has prompted you to do something that is wrong. Sawalat, it deceived you. It beautified this action. You thought that this was the right thing to do, and your soul made you believe that this was the right thing to do. We have 3 parts of the nafs, 3 parts. There is nafsul awama, there's nafsul lawama, okay, nafsul lawama. Actually, I'm going to start with the highest part. There's nafsul mutmainna. This is the part of you that loves to pray. You ever prayed and you're like, got it. Feels great. Fasted, first 10 days of Ramadan, you're like in it. Okay, it's okay. We don't have to hide here. Okay, we know the second 10 days you guys are a little shaky. You know, you're praying for those 7 days to come through. You know what I'm saying? We know. It's okay. We're all living the same life here, guys. It's relax, right? So those first 10 days of Ramadan comes through. You're like, yes, got it. Love it. Love it. I can do this for the rest of my life, right? You wake up for tahajjud. You feel like on top of the world. You give sadaqah. You like, take all my money. Next paycheck, sadaqah, like gone, right? That is your nafs mutma'inna. It is the part of you that loves to please Allah. Then there's your nafs al-lawama. Nafs al-lawama, some of you guys know I like to call her the one who doesn't know what she wants. One foot in the dunya, one foot in the akhirah. You know, it convinces you to do something, and then you do it, and it's like, you know you're wrong. That's your nafs al-lawama. It's the one that kind of comes back and tries to correct you, but also tells you to do something bad. You know, like, go, best friend, like, you got this, do it, but at the same time, like, not too much. You know, that's nafs al-lawama. Nafs al-amara bis-su' is the part of you that calls to doing wrong all the time. It's the part of you that convinces you it's actually not that bad. It's actually not a big deal. Actually, you can do it again. Actually, you should do it again. So here, you're a person, each person has all three of these inside of them. Depending upon what you feed your soul, the other one gets stronger. So if a person just constantly is in the echo chamber of wrong, guess what? Then your nafs al-amara bis-su' is strong. But if a person is constantly in the echo chamber of good, then your nafs al-lawama will push you towards that good. Does that make sense? So your nafs al-lawama will constantly be like, oh, you shouldn't do that. I know you liked it, but you shouldn't do it. Until you get to nafs al-mutma'inna, where you even stop doing things that are permissible out of your love for Allah. That is nafs al-mutma'inna. You never get rid of your nafs. There's not a thing, right? People are like, get rid of your nafs al-amara bis-su'. Do these like adhkar, it will go away forever. That's not real. You know why? Because you're human. And part of being human is that you need to render yourself in submission to Allah. So Yaqub alayhi salam tells his sons that your nafs al-amara bis-su' got the best of you. It convinced you and beautified to you that this is the action and this is the wrong that you should do. And he's looking at them and he's telling them that you are coming to me with things that doesn't even make sense. But you see how he doesn't feel the need to even go through their evidence? Okay, where's his shoe? Like, if a wolf really ate him, then there's some other articles of clothing that should be missing. There should be something else that is missing. That's just the reality of it. And how did you get all of this blood on the shirt? That doesn't make any sense. But he doesn't feel the need to do that because he knows that his sons are lying. And he knows they're not telling the truth. So then he says, فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ. And this is the first place that we're going to see this beautiful statement. We're going to see it again later. And I actually want to just save it for later. I want to save it for later because فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ here is the statement. But the rest of the story from here until we hear it again is actually the action behind the statement. And I want you guys to see it like firsthand through the verses. But he says that I'm going to have the best, the most beautiful type of patience. And sabr, it's like someone actually translated it as grit the other day. And I like that. I don't think it was the other day. It was a while ago. Yeah, it was you too. Okay, perfect. Grit, you know, where like it's endurance, like you push through, it's difficult, it's hard, it's grit, you stick to it. And what are you sticking to? You're sticking to trusting Allah. That's what you're sticking to. So when Yaqub alayhi salam tells his sons that I am scared for my child, and I'm saddened to know that he's going to go with you all, and I think a wolf is going to eat him, and Yaqub alayhi salam is a prophet, do you think that he didn't know that something was going to happen? He knew. He's been protecting Yusuf alayhi salam for a very long time. At some point, people have to walk the phase of life or the path in their life that Allah wants them to walk. And it's important for us to realize that, especially those of us in the room who are caretakers of some sort. Because when you're a caretaker, you almost feel like you have this false notion of control over people's lives. Whether it be being a caretaker of your parents, or you have your own children, or maybe you're a grandparent, or whatever the case may be. Maybe you have cousins, maybe you have people, you have a responsibility over someone. You almost have this false notion of feeling like I can help you walk every path of life and I can block every obstacle for you. And the reality of it is that you cannot. You can't. But what you can do is give tools. What you can do is build someone's grit. What you can do is give somebody a relationship with God. That's what you can do. You can educate. You can give them the things that they need to be able to walk their journey in life. So Yaqub alayhi salam is sitting here in this moment, and he knows something bad is going to happen to his child. And if anybody has a child in this room, you know that if you can see something for your child, you want to protect them from it. But he knows that this is the end of his road when it comes to his teachings for Yusuf. And he has to just let go. So he gives the sons everything they need to know. Listen, I'm scared that a wolf is going to eat him. When they come back and say, a wolf ate him. Great. Genius, like Einstein, we love this, right? A wolf ate him. So Yaqub alayhi salam already knows this. And when they come back, before they can even finish, they are over explaining. He's like, no, you did something wrong. And I am here now. It's my turn to endure. It's my turn to just wait it out. But he doesn't wait it out alone. He says, Wallahu musta'anu ala ma tasifun. But just because something is hard, and just because it's difficult, and just because you have patience, you have sabr, it doesn't mean that you don't get to say that it's hard. You know? People think that if you say, oh, I'm going through it. Oh, well, her sabr is out the window. She clearly doesn't trust God. That's not the reality of it. What does he say? Yaqub alayhi salam says that Allah is the only one I will seek help from for what you all conspired. You conspired something, and you did something. And because of what you did, I'm just going to turn to Allah, because Allah is the only one that can help me through this. Don't you think Yaqub could have asked more questions? He could have said, where'd you drop him? What did you do with him? Okay, come take me to the place. Let me see where the wolf ate him. Okay, let's go see if there's any of his body left so we can bury him. He could have did all of that. But he knew that they were lying, and he knew that Allah was going to take care of him. So when we go back to the beginning of the story, and Yusuf alayhi salam has this dream. And after he has this dream, he comes and he tells his father. And his father tells him, don't tell anybody. But he gives him 3 things. He says, God chose you, right? He says, Allah chose you. He says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to teach you how to interpret dreams. And then the 3rd thing he says is that God has now, like, he wants to complete his favor on you, like he completed it on those who came before you. These are all things that are almost foreshadowing for Yaqub alayhi salam what's going to come in the future. Like, I also need to know, like, as a parent, he's saying this, as a father himself, that I also need to know Allah chose him. Allah has things to teach him, and Allah is going to complete his favor on him. And if that's the case, when something as egregious and difficult and hard as grieving your child that you don't know if they're alive or dead comes up, you're going to put your trust in Allah. Why? Because this is what Allah is asking of us. Allah is asking of us that we don't know what our life is going to look like tomorrow. We don't know what our life is going to look like next year. We have decisions on the table. For some of us, we don't have decisions on the table. For some of us, we're lost. For some of us, we feel like maybe we have a path to walk. We don't know. But you know who does? Allah knows. Allah knows. And even when situations come up that are less than ideal, you have a responsibility of sticking through it and having that grit and sitting down and being firm. You ever wonder why it is iqam as-salah? Right? Why is it establishing prayer? Aqama yuqimu means for someone to have this level of like foundation almost. Like you have this strength. You are staying put, right? So you're consistently establishing your prayer. Why? Because it's centering. You are centering yourself with the one who created you. You are centering yourself with the one who has nourished you. You're centering yourself with the one who is taking care of you. When prophets come and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them and bestows this blessing of a gift upon them, He doesn't first tell them to go and preach. No, He tells them to do what? وَقُمُ اللَّيْلَ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. Stand up and pray for most of the night. Why? Because you need to center yourself. Before you go out and you can be of any benefit and any help to anyone, you have to have a relationship between you and Allah. And it has to be something that is just between you and Him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. O you who believe, isbiru wa sabiru wa rabitu. He says what? Be patient, be patient, be patient, and tie yourself. Right? But sabr, the isbiru here, is like, endure. Have that level of like perseverance and push through. Sabiru, it has an understanding of doing it with something else. Something is going to push back at you. And when something pushes back at you, you need to be able to push through and keep going. Warabitu, and you need to tie yourself to God. What does that mean? It means that my success, my contentment, my happiness, what I would consider to be a good life cannot be tied to my job. It cannot be tied to my children. It cannot be tied to my parents. It cannot be tied to people I love from like the moon and back. It cannot be tied to someone that I love from the bottom of my heart. It cannot be tied to money. It cannot be tied to clothing. It cannot even be tied to myself, because all of these things will disappoint you. But you know who will never disappoint? Allah. Allah will never disappoint. Allah will always come through. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Wattaqullaha. Be mindful, be aware, be God conscious of Allah. La'allakum tuflihun. Then perhaps, truly, surely, you will then find the ultimate level of success. Success is found through your relationship between you and Allah. So Yaqub alayhi salam is facing this situation, and he's facing this difficulty, and it almost seems like an impossible situation to be in. But what do we see him doing? Going back to what truly matters, and that's your relationship between you and God. When the Prophet ﷺ puts the archers on this mountain, on this hill at the Battle of Uhud, and they leave their position, and the people that the Prophet ﷺ loved, Hamza radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Mus'ab bin Umair, they are martyred, they are killed. The Prophet ﷺ is hurt. He has to see the terror of his daughter. Fatima radiallahu ta'ala anha has, already experienced so much difficulty and hardship. And he is watching his daughter be terrified that he may die because of how terribly he's hurt, about how much his face is like slashed out from his helmet. And it's like the worst possible situation that one can be in. Your initial response, because of the betrayal you're feeling at that moment, is, I'm going to go tell these people off. This is all because of you. Had you just did what I told you to do. The Prophet didn't tell them one time. He didn't tell them 2 times. He gave them even an analogy. He said, do not leave your post. Do not leave your post. Where are you guys going to be? We're going to be right here. Should you leave? No. He says, even if you see dead bodies on the battlefield and you see that vultures are coming and they're eating at the corpse, and it seems like the battlefield is so still that you can sit down and you can have dinner, don't leave your post unless I come to you and tell you to leave. Did they leave? Yes, they did. But what is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's response? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's response to the Prophet is فَبِمَا رَحْمَةً مِّنَ اللَّهِ لِنْتَ لَهُمْ. That is purely out of the mercy of Allah that you were lenient with them. Why was the Prophet lenient with them? Because ultimately the battle was not about him. The battle, even though we categorize it later as Muhammad Rasulullah, that we say the battle of Badr was the battle of La ilaha illallah, just trusting in God. And the battle of Uhud was the battle of Muhammad Rasulullah, trusting in your messenger. We categorize that later. But when the Prophet is on the battlefield, and he's facing the Quraysh, and he's facing people that he knows, he's not fighting for himself. Who is he fighting for? He's fighting for Allah. So yes, in that moment, people that he loved from the depth of his heart, did they get hurt? Yes. Did they die? Yes. Did he feel upset? Of course. But he couldn't go and talk to them with that anger. He had to go and talk to them as Rasulullah. He has to go and talk to them as the messenger of Allah. He had to put his job first. And that is being the leader of the ummah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَبِمَا رَحْمَةٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ لِنْتَ لَهُمْ. That you didn't have the resolve to do it on your own. You did it from God's mercy. You did it because Allah's compassion. You did it because Allah had your back. وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَضًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ لَانْفَضُّوا مِنْ حَوْلِكَ. But if you would have went to them and you would have been so hard-hearted and you would have talked to them in a harsh way, they would have never came back and been in your company. فَاعْفُ عَنْهُمْ. So what is your job? You should forgive them. Not just any type of forgiveness. Wipe it off. like it never happened. وَاسْتَغْفِرْ لَهُمْ. And you should ask Allah to forgive them. Because you can forgive somebody, but praying for somebody is a whole nother thing. You know why? Because it's like your sacred time between you and Allah. And you're like, do I even want to bring this person up right now? Because like, are they even worth it? And the answer is yes. Why? Because you don't know who's praying for you. You don't know who's praying for you. You don't realize that you're actually the answer to somebody else's du'as and they're not your own. You don't realize that the blessings that have come to your life are not a result of your doing. They're a result of someone else praying dua making dua for you, whether they liked you or not. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاسْتَغْفِرْ لَهُمْ. And seek forgiveness for them. وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ. And then integrate them back into the community. Seek consultation. Ask them, what should we do in this matter? فَإِذَا عَزَمْتَ. And once you made a decision, فَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ. Then put your trust in Allah. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُتَوَكِّلِينَ. Because truly Allah loves those who put their trust in Him. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِن يَنْصُرُكُمُ اللَّهُ فَلَا غَالِبَ لَكُمْ. If Allah is helping you, no matter the difficulty, no matter how hard it is, no matter how much you think this is an impossible situation, if Allah is helping you, فَلَا غَالِبَ لَكُمْ. There's no one or nothing that can come and defeat you. There's nothing that can get in your way. You are unstoppable. وَإِنْ يَأْخُذْ لَكُمْ فَمَنْ الَّذِي يَنْصُرُكُمْ مِنْ بَعْدِهِ. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, but if He has left you, then there will be no one to help you after Him. So you get to decide what part you want to be on. Do we want to be people that when difficulty arises, we're ungrateful? And all of a sudden, Allah has never been there for us. You've never done this. You've never done that. I'm entitled to this. Why haven't you done this? Do we want to be those people? The answer is no. Why? Because all of the things that you're listing out are actually kind of useless. Let's just be honest. Let's call a spade a spade. They're actually kind of useless. You're upset about not having a new car. Guess what? You have a car. You're upset about not having the nicest living room. Guess what? You have a living room. You're upset about not being able to put your kids in whatever school you wanted to put them in. Guess what? They're going to school. And they're able to learn and they're able to have the resources that a lot of people do not have. And so sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes something from us for us to be a little bit grateful actually. For you to know that actually the grass was very green where you were at. And because you didn't appreciate that, guess what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to know it's not green on the other side. It's really not. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ends up this ayah and He says, وَعَلَى اللَّهِ فَلْيَتَوَكَّلِ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. And it's upon Allah that those who believe put their trust in Him. And it's very beautiful because these ayahs come back to each other. And each time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, put your trust in Him. This is in the Battle of Uhud. Now, fast forward to a couple of years later, you have the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. And at the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, the Muslims have traveled for so long and they're there. And now they want to make Umrah. And they are in this situation where they're 30 minutes, they're a day's journey outside of Mecca to go and make Umrah. And they can't go. And the treaty is you're not going this year. You can spend the same money and come back next, because you're not going to get that money back. You can come back next year. And also all of the things like the perks you thought you had, trade routes, this, that, blah, blah, we're all taking it for a 10-year ceasefire that we don't even know we want to uphold. It was such an unfair thing to the point where Umar ibn Khattab is so upset. He's so mad. He goes to Abu Bakr Siddiq. He's like, don't you see this craziness? And Abu Bakr Siddiq is like, you don't have beef with me, bro. It's like, go to the Prophet ﷺ. He goes to the Prophet ﷺ. He says, أَلَسْنَا عَلَى الْحَقِّ وَهُمْ عَلَى الْبَاطِلِ. Is it not true that we're the ones who are actually on the right path and these people don't know what they're doing? And the Prophet ﷺ says, Bala. He says, you're right. He says, is it not true that when we fought them 2 times, Battle of Badr, Battle of Uhud, right? When we fought them, Battle of the Trench, and their people died. Their people went to hellfire and our people went to Jannah. The Prophet ﷺ says, Bala, you're telling the truth. He says, so why are we signing this? The Prophet ﷺ says, I know what God wants me to do. And in that moment, that's not solace. It's really not. Because Umar ibn Khattab is still racking his brain. But he's upset now because now he's even more upset at himself for yelling at the Prophet ﷺ. And he wasn't yelling at him. He was just so upset. And when the revelation comes down, Umar bin Khattab is like, I don't even want to hear it. Because I know like God's about to like tell me, get out. Like you're done. Like it's done. It's over for you. But the Prophet calls him. He says, Umar, Allah has sent down verses about you. And Umar is like, yeah, R.I.P. to me. Like everybody come to my janazah. Like, you know, Rod is coming down for me. Like God is really striking me down right now. And the Prophet says what to him? Inna fatahna laka fathan mubina. That we're giving you the good news of a clear victory. But guess what, y'all? That sounds all fine and dandy to us. Because we know later on there's a conquest of Mecca. We've read the end of the book. But Umar bin Khattab was content with that. And he didn't know what the end of the book looked like. Because the clear victory didn't come the next year. And it didn't come the year after. Guys, it came time and time later. And guess what? Even after the conquest of Mecca, there was still more. There was still more difficulty. There was still more hardship. But that was Allah saying what? You're going to be okay. And it was the same thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to Yusuf alayhi salam in that well. You're going to be okay. And so at some point, we need to be the people who follow the message of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When the Prophet ﷺ tells us how beautiful is the believer, that whenever there is good for them, whenever a situation happens and something good happens, they know that there's good for them in it. And whenever a situation happens and there's something not so great, they know that there's good in it. We need to be those people. And we need to recognize that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, it's going to be okay. You're going to be okay. We believe it. We believe it not because of our own ability, but because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who's all-knowing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Al-Qahhar, He's the all-powerful, He's the all-capable. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who has taken care of every single one of our affairs. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Al-Razak, He has provided for every single one of us in this room. And there has not been a single day that we have lived without Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's care, without His nourishment, without His compassion, without His mercy, without His kindness, without His gifts, without His peace, and without His capability. So therefore, why not trust in the one who's all-capable? So our responsibility and what we learn from this story and from this portion of the story is that when a difficulty arises, sabr is not just something you say on your tongue, it's an action that you have to do. And we recognize that sometimes not so great things happen for us to learn very big lessons. And it's okay, it's not actually the end of the world. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there for you on that journey. So our take-home practical lessons on this for today, inshallah, is first and foremost, consultation and support is very important. Okay? Consultation and support is extremely important. Why do I say this? I say this that sometimes when you're in your own head, it's so important to have other people to remind you of good. You know, like even if you don't have like super close friends, and I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you guys all amazing people, like a beautiful village, right? Even if you don't have that village yet, it's on its way. There are many places, like here actually, that you can have that positive support that helps you to think good of Allah and reminds you to think good of Allah. So the first practical thing is start building your village, you know? And people think about, especially women, think about this after they have kids. When really, like, actually you're the one who needs the support because, like, moms are a little crazy, you know? So you're the one who needs that support. You need it before anybody, before you have to deal with anyone. You actually need that within your own mind and your own self. Number 2, okay, is we need to stop waiting until Ramadan to engage in our prayers. Okay, tahajjud is not just a Ramadan thing. It's actually like your lifetime thing. So let's start making practical steps towards building our ibadah more. If you're not praying 5 times a day, you need to start there. Okay, if you're not praying 5 times a day, no judgment, no shade. That's between you and the Lord. But this is your place to start. You need to start there. You say, okay, you know what? I'm praying 5 times a day. Maybe I'm not really connecting. You need to make every single one of your prayers a theme. What are you praying for? What are you praying for? After you finish praying your Dhuhr prayer, maybe you decide Dhuhr is meant for your family. Maybe, your family got a lot going on, so you leave it for Isha. I don't know, okay? Maybe you have to play Tetris with it. That's between you and the Lord. But do something about it. Engage with your prayer more. And make it that after every single salah, you take your time to do some dua. Even if you're on the go, there's a lot of students in here too. I know after salah is like, get to class and you're running. Fine. Dua is beautiful. You don't have to do it in one place. But your mind needs to be on that dua. Okay, let's say maybe you do make dua after every prayer. Guess what? There's always a way to level up. Tahajjud is your best friend now. I don't care how tired you are. Get up. Get up and try. You miss it, try again the next day. You miss it, try again the next day. Make the intention. Why? Because Allah will reward you even for the intention. All right, I am praying tahajjud. How are you engaging in your tahajjud? Is your tahajjud a sleepy tahajjud? Is it an awake tahajjud? Ask yourself these questions. What are the things you're praying for? Are you praying for surface level things? Which is, again, fine, because that's your conversation between you and God. But let's engage that conversation a little bit more. Imagine someone talks to you the same way every time. Every time you see them, they greet you the same way. They're the same mundane conversations, the same. You don't feel very motivated to give that person what they're asking for. Great thing that God is not like us. Great thing that Allah is far above how we act. But even though that's the case, let's try to give Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a little bit more energy like we give people, right? Let's give him more energy than that. So that's the second thing. Invest in your seeking and your dua from Allah. And the last thing is that within that dua, you ask Allah to give you grit. Ask Allah to give you sabr. Because we are nothing without our patience, right? We can have contentment one day, but then the next day we're just all together annoyed all over again. And you want to be able to push through. You want to be able to make it through. So I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows us to benefit from everything that we heard here today. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives us of our shortcomings. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows us to be people who have patience. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows us to be people who always turn to him. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gathers us in a gathering much better than this, in a gathering that is on the day of judgment filled with light. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows us to drink from the blessed hands of the Prophet Muhammad on the day of judgment. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Jazakallahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.